Welcome back to the TWSN YouTube channel. And today we have another team-specific mock draft for you guys. This one being Green Bay Packers based. And I know the Packers, they've been one of the more fun teams to follow this offseason. Obviously, we had the whole Aaron Rodgers saga that ended with him re-signing with Green Bay. And then you saw Devontae Adams leave in a trade that kind of surprised a lot of people. And because of that, now they have pick 22. They also have another second-round pick. And they can kind of start to rebuild everything, make that new look offense again. And I think with one of these two first-round picks, shocker, one of them is going to be a receiver. And I really like Garrett Wilson here to the Packers. Garrett Wilson, the whole wide receiver rankings is very different depending on who you ask, in my opinion. I think personally I'm a big Garrett Wilson guy, but I like everybody. Like I said, it's really hard to distinguish who is actually the best. But in this case, I love Garrett Wilson's fit within that Packer offense at 22. I think there's a very realistic chance he's not there. But like I said, we're using the Draft Network's mock draft machine. Some things get shaken up a little bit, and the Packers land Garrett Wilson at 22 here. Now at 28, I think these next couple picks will probably go defense, and then you kind of start to fill out some depth needs, what this team does need. As you see, wide receiver, edge, offensive line a little bit, interior linebacker, a lot of depth around. But here at 28, I really love Boyan Mafe from Minnesota. I think he's got a good chance to go higher than this, but just an uber athletic edge rusher that's going to fit perfect with it. They just lost Zadarius Smith, obviously went to the division rival, the Vikings. They need some high upside uber athletic players, and arguably nobody fits that bill better than the entire draft than Boyan Mafe. And I think he's going to surprise a lot of people. He's not the biggest name in the world, but man, the guy's a freak. Packers fans, you would love that. Any team who lands him will be landing a stud. Now here at 53, things are a little weird. I like Roger McCreary here. I know that they drafted a corner last year. They have Jair Alexander, and re-signed Douglas. But just in general, the youth at that position is awesome. The depth at the position is extremely important. Roger McCreary is just best player available. And I think that's going to be the story for the Packers. And it just happened to be a corner there. Corner's a super valuable position in the NFL. We see all these high-powered offenses nowadays. And if you're going to want to have any chance to stop that, you're going to need good corners. And I think the Packers take advantage with the falling Roger McCreary, who was once looked at as a surefire first rounder here at 53. Now 59, this one can go a lot of ways. I think any of these offensive linemen could kind of make sense. Actually, let's go ahead and give them Bernard Raymond from Central Michigan. Just a development tackle. I think he's a development tackle. The upside is clearly there. I don't think he's going to necessarily wind up playing right away, but it's a very good pick for the future. He has the potential to maybe win the job. I know the Packers offensive line is always a position you look to draft. And when you have a development guy with some high upside, like the Packers had with Bernard Raymond there at 59, I think you got to do it. I think it makes a lot of sense. It's one of those depth pieces we talked about, best player available, highest upside in general. Now at 92, these tight ends are pretty interesting to me. I think that I know they re-signed Robert Tonyan. They have Josiah DeGuara, but they don't have too many, none of those guys are really standing out for you, and you're really trying to build your offense for the future. That's kind of why I really like Cade Otton here. He's one of the more do-it-all tight ends in this draft. I know tight ends is not the biggest need for the Packers, but just euthanizing that offense outside of Aaron Rodgers is something they need to do. Cade Otton is an extremely well-rounded tight end. He's a young guy. He obviously is. He's a rookie here. So it's just, I think having, we gave him Garrett Wilson at 22. You have Amari Rodgers from last year's draft. You have A.J. Dillon from a couple years ago. Now you had another young receiving option in Cade Otton that can block as well. I think it kind of fits like a glove there. Rookie tight ends never produce right away, but that when they need him to produce in a year or two, he's going to be good. He's one of my favorite tight ends in the class. Tight end's another position that's all over the place. Everybody you ask, that's the story of the draft this year in general. No matter who you ask, their top player at that position is probably different than yours, and that's kind of why it's so fun. Now here, the Packers, there's a couple guys that I like in this range, but I really like Brandon Smith here from Penn State. Super athletic linebacker, really fast, and but to have another pick here. But linebacker is a position of need. You need some depth at the position always, and I think the linebackers are becoming these really freak athletes, and I think he just kind of fits he fits that mold. The upside is pretty high. It's nothing crazy, but the floor is pretty high. He's a super athlete, got that sideline to sideline speed, and I think at the very very least you're gonna get a really good depth linebacker, which isn't the biggest need for them, but in general, I think that the cold weather linebackers that just fly over the field are valuable, and I think there's a chance that Brandon Smith becomes that guy. Now here, there's a couple. There's a couple guys that make sense. They need some versatility everywhere. I'm looking at maybe one of these receivers. Maybe I'm plugging in a Devon West. He's a center. Just kind of recap what we've done so far. We got wide receiver, edge, corner, offensive tackle. I think I'm going to double dip with edge and go Isaiah Thomas here at Oklahoma. I just think their defense is really not old by any means, but they just don't have a lot of really young contributors, I guess, in the pass rushing department. So I think that's kind of why I love Boya Mafe to them. I love an edge rusher to them at 28. And I think obviously they need some depth with that position as well. They just lost to Darius Smith, like I alluded to earlier. So at the very least, you're getting a really good depth piece that can rush the passer, can defend the run pretty solid, and just overall, like I alluded to, man, this draft for the Packers is going to be a lot of depth, a lot of best player available, and I think they're going to be planning for the future a lot more than people really want to realize. Now, we've kind of done a little bit of everything for the Packers. I really think this could be another spot where they look to double dip in receiver, and I'm going to give them Justin Ross. I didn't really expect him to be here. Obviously, he's really battled with some injuries throughout his college career, but he's been dominant when healthy. And I think, obviously, they re-signed Lazard. They lost Valdez-Scantling to the Chiefs. You have, like I said, we drafted Garrett Wilson. You have Amari Rodgers. You still have some guys there, but they really need to make this team younger in general. And I don't know if Jordan Love's going to be the guy there forever to overtake Rodgers or whatever it is. They need some playmakers that will be cheap and affordable to afford that Aaron Rodgers deal, to afford whoever they want to pay. So I think getting your hands on a guy that has super high ceiling at an extremely valuable position in wide receiver. It's obviously a risky pick. The injuries, the production's a little bit of a question mark because of the injuries. But just in general, I think when you have the opportunity to add a high upside player at a position of need, you're pretty happy with it. And I believe this might be the Packers' last pick. Like I said, you can kind of go a lot of different positions. You could add another receiver, you can add another linebacker. I like a lot. You can also triple dip in the edge position. It's tough here. I think that I'm looking for a guy that's really versatile and can kind of do a lot of different things. Let's go ahead and give him this LSU nose tackle. I think you got Kenny Clark, you signed Jaron Reed. The depth there isn't the best. I think that's really all it is. You're in the later rounds. Well, the Packers have another pick. You're in the later rounds, and you're looking for somebody that you think can come in and fill some sort of role on your team, regardless of what it is. That's what you're looking for late in the draft. You're looking for somebody who can come in and fill a role. Special teams, which is super underrated. And I really like Ty Chandler. He's not a fit here for the Packers with obviously Aaron Jones in general and A.J. Dillon and the guy they drafted last year. Like I said, this is another pick. You're looking for some depth, somebody that can produce right away. And it's tough. I like one of the Sewell brothers as well. Some of these receivers here I like, but you don't really need another receiver. Let's give him PJ Mustipher from Penn State, another interior defensive lineman. At the very least, I kind of like double dipping at the back of drafts to where you can really have people compete. You can get the best out of people. And obviously that's the last pick the Packers have. Here's just a little recap of their selections. I think that it's going to be a very interesting year for the Packers. I think the first 2 rounds where they have the 2 picks total from the Davante Adams deal, they're going to try to replace Davante Adams a little bit and really load up on that defensive side of the football and maybe just shore up a lot of positions. They're going to really draft best player available this year, get a lot of depth. The Packers are good. They're going to be good. They have Aaron Rodgers. So whatever the makeup of the team is, they're going to compete. But I really think they're going to try to take some risks, some high upside guys with some really low floors. And I kind of think this is kind of how something that I could really see the Packers going. You get an elite wide receiver early, like Garrett Wilson. You get an elite high upside edge rusher, a solid corner, which is a little bit of a luxury pick because you have that other second round pick, a development tackle, a really do it all tight end. And then all these people here are just athletes or they have really high floors or they fill a position of need. But I think that's going to wrap up the Packers team-specific 7-round mock draft. A very exciting, interesting time to be a Packers fan, and I hope to see you guys again on the TWSN YouTube channel soon.